Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Manzur Ahmad Ganai, lecturer history. Today we are going to start unit number 7 of our syllabus in 11th class history subject, and the name of unit number 7 is Changing Cultural Traditions. Dear students, in this unit we have to study about the changes that took place in the European culture and life between 14th and 17th century AD. Dear students, we understand that in the medieval period, that's from 5th or to 9th to the 15th century AD, there was the dominance of church in the European history, which we have also studied in our unit number 6. The name of that unit was the three orders, and in that unit we have tried to understand that church had the topmost importance in the life of the people during that period, that is the medieval period. The church controlled the life of men, life of people from birth to death. No one could dare to challenge the authority and rules and regulations of the church. And church mostly focused on the life hereafter than the life in this world. However, we understand that from the 14th century onwards, people began to challenge the authority of church. These scholars began to claim that church should not have complete authority over the lives of the people. As such, a new wave, a new movement, and a new ideology started in the European history. And this new movement, this new ideology started from the Italian cities of Florence, Venice, and Rome, where from it spread to vast parts of Europe. And the new movement, with the help of which people began to think about new ideology, new life, new thinking, science and technology, and this movement came to be known as the Renaissance movement. It was this Renaissance movement which began from 14th century onwards in the European history. It was from this Renaissance movement that the modern ages began in the European history. What is this Renaissance, dear students? Renaissance is basically a French word which means rebirth or a revival of ancient knowledge, literature, architecture, science and technology in the European history between 14th and 17th century, between 14th and 17th century AD. Dear students, as you know, Renaissance means revival or a rebirth. Why this movement has been named as Renaissance movement? There is a reason for this, because we understand that in Europe there were two great civilizations in the ancient world in the ancient times. These two great civilizations were the Roman civilization and the Greek civilizations, and these two civilizations of Europe in the ancient times had contributed to all fields of life in the world. These two civilizations had contributed in the field of art, literature, science, technology, architecture, and in all fields of life. These two civilizations had made great contributions. So we can say in the ancient period, in the world history, in the European history, the civilizations of Greek and Rome were the topmost and the most important civilizations of the ancient world. However, from 5th century AD onwards, these two great civilizations began to decline. As a result of the decline of the Greek and Roman civilizations, the Europe entered into Doric Ages. The Europe entered into medieval ages, where church dominated and controlled all affairs of the life. Now there was no importance to science and technology, there was no importance to literature, there was no importance to modern and new thinking. As a result, Europe went into Doric Ages during medieval period from 5th century AD onwards, after the decline of Greek and Roman civilization. However, from the 14th century onwards, people began to think, the scholars began to think, scholars in Europe began to think of the ancient glory which Europe had achieved during the times of Greek and Roman civilizations. They began to think that why can't we revive, why can't we regain that glory of ancient times? Therefore, a movement was started, the purpose of which of that movement was to revive the ancient or to regain the ancient glory and greatness of the Europe. And that movement therefore came to be known as a Renaissance movement, because Renaissance means a revival and a rebirth. Through this Renaissance movement, the European scholars tried to revive or regain the ancient glory that Europe had achieved in the ancient times, and take that glory and restart or regain that glory in the modern age as well. Therefore, with the beginning of the Renaissance period, with the beginning of the Renaissance movement, the modern age started in the European history. And it was after this Renaissance movement that new architecture, literature, culture, science and technology, inventions, discoveries, and all other things started in the European history, which marked the beginning of modern age in the European history. Thank you.